Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Cartel Aristocrats here. It's your host, Douglas Johnson. I got Ed Dugan on, and here for a guest, I have esteemed EDH mastermind, Jason Eal. Jason, how's it going?
All of this implies that Cartel Aristocrats is a podcast that anybody would listen to. Like, why would you? I don't know.
I signed a foil Cartel Aristocrat at GP Toronto this past weekend.
Wow.
How long were you on there? Like 10 episodes?
Well, I
don't remember.
Wasn't that much. I feel like I've been on that podcast as much as you have.
I created the Twitter account for that
that's cool.
podcast. So that's something, right?
You wanna do a real intro now?
That was the real intro.
You wanna do a real intro now?
I control the PayPal for this podcast, and I pay our editor, so that was the real intro.
Hey everybody, welcome to Brainstorm Brewery, where DJ doesn't get to call himself the host ever. I'm joined by my special guest, Douglas Johnson, who's been the guest for hundreds of episodes, and that's just going to be a thing. And we're joined by... You don't pronounce it Nugan, do you? Surely it's like Gwen?
Yes, definitely did not pronounce it however Doug pronounced it.
Nugan? Come on, man. What is he, Ted Nugan? No, it's... Isn't Gwen like the most popular last name in Korea?
In Vietnam, yes.
Vietnam. Whatever,
so
man.
close, and then just...
I knew a Korean guy with that last name. Who knows if his dad was Vietnamese? I don't know. I just I know how to pronounce it, so fuck me for getting the country wrong. Anyway, we're joined by Ed from Cartel Aristocrats and DJ, who can fuck off right back to Cartel Aristocrats if that's what he wants. It's going to be a great episode because Corbin isn't here, so strap your butts in and get ready for a Brainstorm Brewery episode that's rapidly approaching number 300. If you're worried about the 300 special, we haven't even recorded the episode 200 part 2, so I don't know if we're going to ever do anything special for 300. So, you know, I kind of said, hey, I'm going to jam myself in the driver's seat. I'm going to drive the bus here. And here's the thing. I didn't look at the show notes. DJ made them up. He's like, what show notes are is the podcast participants all look at like a set list of like the topics and the order they're going to go in. And I don't truck with that. I kind of be quiet and let somebody else drive the podcast. And now that I've like sort of taken over, I realize that I'll have to either wing it, which could make for a bad episode, or I'll have to look at the show notes. And I don't want to do either. So I'm going to pass you back to Douglas Johnson. I'm just letting you know he's not a host and this isn't Cartel Aristocrats. And that's where I came in. So let's pass you back.
2/3 of this podcast are Cartel Aristocrat hosts, and 2/3 of this podcast were also at GP Toronto this past weekend. I saw Ed there. I saw him charging that laptop.
Didn't I make you quit that podcast if you wanted to be on this one?
I saw Ed being all sad after he tried to perform a mass speculation buyout on some magical cards, but he failed miserably. Ed, why don't you tell us about that?
Wait, what? What I try and buy out?
A couple janky little zero mana artifacts from.
Come on, Ed, don't you know you're on live?
No big deal.
Yeah. I was mildly frustrated because I usually do my scope of power around the room, trying to buy Channel Fireballs. Moxes, I usually take advantage of their 30% credit trade bump to put in towards it. And I had them set aside one piece for me. When I came back 30 minutes later, the remaining like 4 pieces that they had already sold. The only one I was able to acquire was the Mox Sapphire, which I'm mildly aggravated about. And
I mean, this was early in the day. It was either Friday or Saturday, but it was pretty early in the day, right?
This was first thing Friday morning. So
yeah.
When I walked around and scoped out all the vendors, because I was there before the hall opened, as I usually am. So.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I was behind the 95 booth this past weekend, and we brought not a ton of power, but probably 8 or 9 pieces of the event, and we got a few more in throughout the weekend, and then by the end of the weekend, almost all of them were gone. Just, we had a Lotus in there at 5,400 Canadian, which is like $5.40 US or something like that for conversion rate.
I think that's about the conversion rate, yeah.
We had 2 jets. We sold a playset of, or not a playset. We sold 3 out of 4 of our beta Underground Seas. Like, there was a lot of high-end stuff moving around the room. duels were moving like crazy in play sets. There wasn't just any one person coming out and buying out duels, but there was a lot of people just sort of respecting that whole dual land spike and being like, well, if not now, I might as well
It's the new price, and you know what? 2 or 3 years from now, if not sooner, they go up again, and they're going to jump by $50 to $100 probably, so...
I mean, the best time to buy Underground Sea is yesterday. So
the best time to buy Underground Sea was 1994.
Sure, but what can you do?
The best time to sell them was 2002 when I sold mine.
Was Doug even alive in 1994?
Depends on what month.
Because Doug doesn't believe that life begins at conception, which is a highly political thing that I don't want to... Some of us believe that life begins at conception, and yes, he was alive for all of 1994, so shame on you.
All right, Dilly Dog. But yeah, like...
I have no response to that.
I think the general vibe from this weekend was people were definitely snapping up a lot of stuff. Like, one vendor I talked to, he said that after he... Like, with how quickly he sold some of his pieces, he actually just took the rest of them down. He's like, clearly they're too cheap, the demand is there. There's no reason that I should be selling them this quick.
Right, I mean...
No, and dealers aren't used to selling power like that. And, like, if stuff sells that fast, you're like, I've made a mistake.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, I think a large part of it is just that there's always been this sort of ratio of how expensive certain cards are to other cards. Like, if an Underground Sea is half of the price of a specific mock, something is... One of those two prices is wrong, and one of those two prices is going to correct. And Underground Sea is not going to correct downward, the power is going to correct upward. So, as these people have all their dual lands, and suddenly they're sitting on twice as much value as they did 3 months ago, they'd start looking at the higher end stuff and think, whoa, I couldn't afford a Jet or a Time Twister or a Recall 3 months ago, but all my duels just jumped, and the power hasn't jumped yet, so I feel like maybe I should sell duels and get power. And then that just sort of scales upward, and then... Like, Lotus has gone up a lot in the past few months, and that's not something a lot of people keep track of, but those who do have noticed it, and we had a Lotus in the case Friday. It was gone by Saturday.
You know what I can't wait for? I can't wait for someone to win a Legacy tournament with Hallowed Fountain and Watery Grave in their deck, and, like, no duels. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that might be coming up sooner than you think, because there's a strong possibility of us getting Shocklands in the fall, right? With this Return to Ravnica set?
Return to Ravnica? Even if it doesn't happen, I think you get like a 1% advantage running an Underground Sea over a Watery Grave. And when Underground Sea was $125 and Watery Grave was $25, yeah, okay. But now that one is going to be like 1,000 and the other one's going to be like 10, maybe you just take that 100-to-1 ratio and take that 1% extra win rate you're going to lose by having either to take 2 damage or have your land come into play tapped, and you're just going to have to be okay with that. I think... I don't know. The problem I have with the people you see railing against the reserve list are people that are like, I started in Theros, and it's BS that I can't play Legacy. I'm like, yeah, okay. But you can play Legacy. You can't play Vintage, but so what? You wouldn't even like Vintage if you started in Theros. So... You know what? Try it. Try jamming, the
that's not the case for all decks though. Like, you still need Lion's Eyes and Mox Diamonds for
a lot of them. A lot of them. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of reserve list stuff that's keeping people out of some of these formats. But no one's saying you can't play Burn.
Cards are irreplaceable. That's not.
But that was the play 6 years ago. 6 years ago, you didn't just buy into Legacy. When a duel was $50, you still just built a burn deck and like did your grinding at the store tournament and won duels, for playing tournaments. That was the play 6-7 years ago. So like acting like the reserve list is the reason it's not the play now. I don't get it.
That's not what I'm saying.
No, I know that's not what you're saying, but I just you hear so many people saying that they're priced out of Legacy, but they made the same complaint 6 years ago, when the amount they had to cough up was way less. So I don't know. There are other cards that, like you said, LED, and there's other stuff. There's basically every deck has one reserve list card that just went nuts.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, Like, I think one of our most popular cards that we moved out of the case this past weekend was City of Traders, and we just happened to be one of the only vendors that had any in stock at the start of the weekend.
And that was a card that was $30 6 years ago.
It was $30 2 years ago.
No, I remember because, like, it went from 30 to, like, 70 a while ago. So, I mean, not 2 years ago, but, like, it's been a minute. But yeah, it's just like it's one of those cards.
Okay, yeah, 4 years ago it was 30. 2015 it was 70, and it crept down to 55s, and then it just keeps going up.
And they're not gonna reprint a functional City of Traders. I think
no, they're not. But I mean, like, this conversation has been done to death, and there's not really, like, we're just sort of circle jerking at this point. So
yeah, what's the point even? Like,
let's just aggressively segue into Breaking Bulk.
That's real aggressive. That is abrupt.
Breaking Bulk time. Breaking Bulk time. Break.
Oh yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking Bulk. The end.
Reasonable segue.
I've got a reasonable card to pick out of Breaking Bulk. It's something that we got asked about a lot at the booth this past weekend. I actually don't know what this gets played in, but all I know is that I've been picking it at a bulk for a while. It's still not, it hasn't jumped yet or anything like that, as far as I know, but it is a Zendikar Black Uncommon. And it's not a creature.
Ravenous Trap?
Marsh Casualties?
Nope. Yeah, Ed's got it. It is Marsh Casualties.
Huh.
Do you get asked about these at all, Ed, or is that something that people were hunting down? Because we didn't have any, but I'm assuming it was like a modern sideboard card, or maybe even a legacy card.
It's a legacy card in Grixis Delver. It's a 2-mana way to sweep your opponent's Young Pyromancers. It's a good clean answer to that. Delver Secrets, you can somehow catch them before it flips. So
every once in a great while you kick it. But yeah, this is just like a 1-mana Shrivel effect. It's black sorcery, kicker 3. Creatures target player controls get -1/-1 till end of turn. If it was kicked, those creatures get -2/-2. I've just always picked it as just sort of a card. It was a better infest. Like, I mean, it's a little harder to cast, but you also have the upside of paying 5 later and sweeping their team for a bunch of little guys. There's not really any sort of incentive to biolist this at the moment, so this is just a card where if you pick it out of bulk, I think you just hold it, set it aside. Eventually, maybe if it sees a little more modern play, if it sees a lot more legacy play, it's just a card that really has no reprints at the moment, and so I'm just comfortable holding these and then eventually shipping them for 15 or 20 cents a piece.
Is it really that low? Jeez. I mean,
yeah, I mean, the market price is 14 cents, but the foil is $8, so that just sort of goes to show that people who are playing it and who are dedicated to foiling out their decks are willing to pay that much higher price just for foils. So, I mean, if you find foils in like a foil bulk bin, that's definitely the play, just to get those and sell those as soon as you can. But, I mean, this is a card that there's a ton of copies on TCG for less than 10 cents a piece, so that's just sort of, I don't really think it's a buy at 10 cents, because then you have to do a ton of work like buy listing them, and you have to hope it goes up a lot margin wise. But it's just something to keep one eye on. This is just sort of it could be a like Logic Not-esque card where it just suddenly becomes $1 and nobody really understands why.
There's 2 printings in dual decks though, so I feel like that.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Zendikar vs. Eldrazi and Jace vs. Vraska. That probably is...
Oh, I didn't know it was in Jace vs. Vraska. Okay, that helps a lot.
I feel like that's a thing you could have looked up, but
I typed in Marsh Casualties and hit enter on TCG Player, and it auto-defaulted to the Zendikar one. But you're right, Jason. You're always right.
It's probably the biggest reason why the non-foil is basically worth 0.
No, you're right. Yeah. Good call.
Yeah. I'm here to help. Yeah, so 6 copies on TCG Player for foil listings, which is really not a lot. So, and
because the only foil was
it from Zendikar.
Zendikar. Yeah.
And if anyone is gonna foil it out, it's gonna be people who play Legacy that don't care about the price. So,
yep.
Because $16 for a foil is probably virtually nothing relative to the rest of their deck. So, out of curiosity, how much bulk-esque cards like this do you actually hold on to when you're breaking bulk and just sitting on these cards that you deem too cheap?
Not many. Not many. It has to be a very specific subset of cards. I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head right now, but something like every now and again it was like Glisten or Elf a while back, or stuff like, I guess, Jeskai Ascendancy if we're going into rares, where it's like the price is just so low that I'd rather just stockpile a bunch, and I just feel that the playability of the card far exceeds its value. And so it's a very small subset of cards, and I wish I could think of Secrets of the Dead is a good one right now.
It's hard to find 52 a year. Is what it comes down to.
Are you referring to like picks of the week, or what do you mean?
No, it's to cards that are like that in that sweet spot where it's like it's something where there's like a huge spread on it, or you think it's going to go up, or it's a card that's clearly underpriced on buy lists relative to its retail price. I pick maybe 10 breaking bulk picks a year where I'm like, yeah, I'm absolutely going to hold on to all these because I think they're going to go up, versus some of these like, wow, I didn't know that was $1. And for a lot of our listeners, the man, I didn't know that was $1 picks are valuable to them too. Like, not everyone's doing high level finance. Some people are just getting some bulk and just shipping stuff, but
yeah, I'd say probably 90% of my breaking bulk picks, probably even 95 even, are just cards that I find, pull, ship. Most of them are just, I don't want to hold on to this. This is worth, it's more valuable for me to just churn the currency and just get more available liquid capital to use to buy other things, buy collections, buy more bulk, just rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. For me, it's less of a hold on to cards for extended period of time and wait for them to go up and then sell them game. It's more of just how many pieces of cardboard can I move in and out of my house over and over and over again. It's more about the margins per card rather than the holding and waiting game. But there's a few cards every now and again.
Yeah, probably 20% of our picks are like, yeah, I'm not going to sell that for what it's selling for.
Probably even less than that, to be honest. But every now and again, you just find this 1 5-cent card, and you just have a gut feeling like this seems way better than, or something might have a low print run, just something that's worth holding on to. And I think March Casualties, and right now Secrets of the Dead, I think falls into that category, and that's definitely a Jason-esque card.
Wasn't that one of my picks, Secrets of the Dead?
Yeah, it was one of your picks during the set review for Muldrotha, but it's just something I've set aside. It's one of those cards where I set it aside a while ago, just thinking, oh, they'll let you cast more stuff from the graveyard eventually, and now I've got 50 of them for when it goes to $1.
Yep.
So, you want to hit us up with a breaking bulk, Ed?
What's up, sorry?
Do you want to hit us up with a little guessing game for breaking bulk? Give us some clues, and then...
I am unfortunately not about that life. The only bulk I really care about, the only bulk I honestly care about is standard bulk. More specifically, like from Dominaria, the most recent set. Mainly because that's the type that you get the most right now. People who just bust their boxes, ship you their bulk.
Yep.
Yeah. All the advice I have to give for like bulk for like Dominaria, which has been better than in a lot of other sets, is there's a lot of the uncommon legends are very, very good. I imagine there's probably people who want to play Brawl built around them. They just have, a lot of them have very unique abilities. Like the Blue-Red Wizard, that's uncommon. It's like Flying Haste, it's a 3-mana 2/2, whenever you cast an instant.
Adeles or something, yeah.
Yeah.
There's another red-green legend that strongly relates to my pick of the week this week that I'm gonna hold on to for a little while. But yeah, I can agree with that in terms of Dominaria has a lot more powerful uncommons that I think people are letting slip through bulk just because they're going through boxes and being like, Karn, Lyra, nope, okay, everything else is garbage. Yeah.
Yeah, there's I've got no shortage of cast downs and
rat colonies, yeah.
Yeah, rat colonies is a big one. I feel like it should be obvious, but people just seem to not care about pulling that out. That card currently sells on TG for 50 cents. I think Card Kingdom's buy list is 38 cents or something already.
You can get 75 cents per rat colony if you list 10 at once.
Yeah, if you list a bunch, someone, one person will just buy you out of all of them because that person obviously doesn't want 1 or 2. They probably want more than 4. If you just have a... Yep. Alright.
Into the spreadsheet.
Alright.
Into the spreadsheet.
No, that's gonna make it so that people, start
into the spreadsheet.
People are gonna start
into the spreadsheet.
pulling their red colonies out.
Patreons get access to. Are you gonna make me do this?
What,
Jason?
Oh,
What? Think you do what?
The Patreons get access to the spread. The Patreon get access to the spreadsheet. $10 a month. Glasses and just insults and stuff about tokens and really. All right, I guess Jason's not feeling the Patreon pitch this week, but all right, for those who are wondering, the $1 access gets you access to the Discord channel where Jason might make fun of you if he feels like it. We got a lot of good Discord channels going on. MTG Finance, card grading and price checks, trading post, 60 card constructed, even got a politics channel for those who would dare to brave it. $5.
There's only one meme, so like we need people in the Discord who are capable of making a meme. Because every Discord channel and Slack channel for every interest group just generates a meme after a while, right? Just like a recurring joke that becomes like a thing, you know? That's what Richard Dawkins said a meme was. It was something that was some data that was self-replicating. And so far we have one meme. So what we need is a few people to give us $1 at patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery and join our Discord channel so we can get some more memes, because honestly, the one meme it's terrible. A guy made a spelling error. Let's meme it hard and run it into the ground. We need people we need you know? You're like, oh, I'm a person between 15 and 45 years old, and I consider myself relatively tech savvy. And hey, I have an extra $1 every month to contribute to my favorite podcast that I've listened to for free for 6 years, haven't contributed a single dollar to. They need me now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give them $1 at patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery. I'm going to go save their Discord channel with my new awesome meme that I created. And maybe, just maybe, the Discord will be full of memes all of a sudden. And, everyone will be like, oh, I'll be referencing that outside of the Discord. And everyone will be like, what's going on? And be like, oh, it's a thing you wouldn't understand because you don't go to patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery and give them $1 a month. Which isn't even $1 an episode. It's less. It's way less. So why don't you give us $1 for listening to our podcast for free for 6 years? We're like NPR. It's every week is pledge week. Give us $1. Give us $20 and you can have, well, not this glass. These are the good glasses. You can get the bad ones until we're out of the bad ones, and then we'll have to reorder them. Maybe from the original company that Marcel ticked off. You don't know. So maybe we'll go back to that company and pretend that Marcel didn't leave them a bunch of bad Yelp reviews. We'll be like, oh, this is just the logo. We're completely different.
I'm still
people.
shocked that he went through the effort to make multiple Yelp reviews. Like normally,
no, it wasn't. It was one Yelp review, but it was like there were other places to trash a business.
Sure.
So it was like everywhere you could poop on a business. He's like, I asked them to taper the logo, and they said that they couldn't do it. And I was like, I don't want the logo. I think it looks better not tapered. And then Marcel's like, nah, it's about the principle. And
that's a bad president.
It's a very bad president. So we may try to go back to the original company, because if you look at this, I've had this glass for years. I wash it in the dishwasher. The logo does not come off. If you got one of the other glasses and you notice that just hand washing the logo comes off, why are you washing the outside of the glass, idiot? The liquid goes on the inside. Anyway, we're sorry about your bad glasses, so we'll figure it out.
Oh yeah,
so
Jason's sending extra glasses to everybody who's subscribed. We're gonna clear out the old wave, and you're basically just gonna get free product at this point. We're gonna put some effort in, and
we're gonna get rid of all the old ones, and then we're gonna
you're gonna get so many glasses. You're gonna get so many glasses. You might even call it a doubling a season of glasses. And
yeah, so if you subscribe for $20 now, you might get like the old ones, and then you might get the new ones later when we get our shit together.
Somebody said double. Wow, doubling a season is gonna be in Battlebond. That's ironic. So this is a mythic rare now. The art's not great, I don't think, but Jason, what do you think of Battlebond? This set looks crazy so
That's
far.
a hard segue out of the Patreon pitch. That was jarring. I was like, is he doing this? Are we doing... Okay. So anyway, if you don't feel like giving us money, we don't care. You can listen to our podcast for free. If you've listened to our podcast for free for 6 years, we're about that, man. We're teaching people to get value out of MTG Finance, so thanks for that. And hey, you know what else is value? A reprint of Doubling Season in Battlebond. I'm looking forward to more Battlebond previews because Gavin Verhey gets it. Gavin Verhey he understands how to reprint cards. He understands which cards need reprinted. I'm sure he does. And what he did was he took an existing thing called EDH and he made another existing thing called Two-Headed Giant, and he made cards that work in both. And that blows my mind. He made cards that you can do your little discrete Battlebond thing, but instead of being like the draft only stuff from Conspiracy, he made a bunch of the stuff that's good in Battlebond be good in EDH, which means Battlebond packs are worth buying because there's a bunch of EDH staples in it. So like the cards won't be like worth nothing like they were in Conspiracy. So like all the Conspiracy specific stuff is like trash now. If it doesn't go in a cube and it's not foil, who gives a crap? Yeah,
like Sovereign's Realm and WorldNet and all that. Unless they're foil, they're really worthless.
Yeah.
But I mean, we can still see Rowan Kenrith and Will Kenrith, the twins of I don't know.
Yeah,
this plane. I don't know what this plane is called.
The Lannister Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
So I think he nailed it. It's too early to tell because we've only seen like 10 Battlebond cards, but I like all of them.
We haven't seen any jarring reprints other than Doubling Season, but if we get any sort of mid-range reprints, like the sort of Phyrexian Arenas or the Ristic Studies or like the Birds of Paradise or anything like that where it's a mid-level reprint and it just crashes the price down to around $2 or $3, that's going to be a really good opportunity to pick those cards up for cheap because those are just going to get slotted into decks over the next 2 years. And I know what you're saying, Jason. Even if Battlebond is great, even if the format's awesome, even if the cards are cool, we're still not going to see as much of this set opened compared to something like Kaladesh, compared to something like Dominaria, just because the set has to fight with Dominaria for space in terms of like its prime time of getting opened. It has to fight with the most
people will draft this twice. They'll draft it twice, even if they really like it. I really like Battlebond. I can't wait. I'm a Battlebond up with Joey D on June 9th, and we're gonna swing at some people. And you know what? I bet we Battlebond one other time after that, and maybe we buy a box at cost, for my LGS and do it a third time. But probably not, man. Probably in the next 12 months, I do it 2 or 3 times, which means what happens to all these boxes? So I really think that this set is going to be good enough that at $4 a pack, there will be enough EDH staples in it that the packs will be actually worth buying, and they won't sit like Conspiracy did. I think, based on the fact that, and look, you've got EDH playable stuff where they just partner with each other, so you can make a partner deck of like the dude and his imaginary friend and stuff like that. That'll be a good EDH deck, but they didn't have to test all of them to make sure partnering with Thrasios or Timna or whatever wouldn't break the game completely. They found a way to give us more partner commanders, but not have to test them with the other partner commanders. Like, it's genius. Like, I really think the set is really well designed. And that's based off seeing like 12 cards, but still. It's
great, but remember Conspiracy 2 had some really high dollar reprints like Show and Tell and Berserk, and that didn't make the set.
The packs are hard garbage, because are you going to buy a booster? Like, look, if you buy a booster pack of Magic cards, like, you'll at least get bulk rares and maybe a foil, but like Conspiracy, no one's taking a box of Conspiracy, cracking it open and putting it on the counter at an LGS. They're leaving it sealed because anybody that wants Conspiracy wants the box sealed to draft with. So no one's buying loose packs of Conspiracy, really. And meanwhile, like, you're not going to bust a pack if you could get like a Paliano in it and like, oh, I didn't get a card that does anything. So I don't know. I think Battlebond solved the Conspiracy problem. Conspiracy was a great set with a lot of really great reprints and a lot of great new cards like Expropriate and the stuff sitting. Yeah, like, people can't move the boxes on eBay at cost, and that's a problem. And I think Battlebond has solved it. And maybe they won't overprint it the way they did Conspiracy.
I don't know. What do you think, Ed?
I think having like these like legendary type cards, like I like the Peter and Toothy or whatever, like these are common legendary creatures. At least that's what
they are. Not.
No,
they're both rare, dude.
Oh, they are rare. Okay, never mind. I can barely tell from this.
The set symbol's not great on Mythic Exploiter, I agree.
Yeah, it looks really hard. But anyways, like having these types of cards, it's much different than like Conspiracy. Like, you know, like the Draft Matters cards, like Jason said, like those are just completely irrelevant for people who just want to be cracking packs and just, you know, getting additions for a collection. Because unless you have a cube or something, most of the Draft Conspiracy cards are just complete crap. But
right,
you know, having like these partner type effects, it's enough that, you know, maybe this is worth building like a cheap, you know, like EDH deck or something around. Like, you know, if I open up my box and I have, you know, both of these partner commanders together, whatever, maybe I'll spend like $200 and just make like a low key, not super competitive, but just something new to try out, you know, that's kind of sweet, and maybe I take it apart in 1 or 2 months, but who cares? That gave me some entertainment value out of my box.
Right.
And that might be enough to just kind of prop up the prices, especially if the cost is low and people are just willing to continue to, like, turn them over. So.
Well, do you guys think that they're going to contribute any legacy cards this as well? Because, I mean, the past two Conspiracy sets we got something like Council's Judgment and we got Leovold. So, I mean, they've clearly intentionally designed for Eternal formats before. Do you think they do that again? Or just, like, even if it's only 1 or 2 cards?
It seems possible. Like, there's no reason not to. If the card is just powerful on its own, something like Phyrexian Arena, in terms of power level and just, like, ease of use, that's just like, hey, we opened a good rare, now a good rare goes in our deck, and now our deck's better, regardless of it's like Battlebond specific good, and it's just, or hey, this is good mana fixing because we're playing multiple colors in our Battlebond decks. I think you can just jam stuff that's just generically good in a set like this, and that opens you up opens up more avenues for reprint.
We're definitely going to get some sort of, like, Vidalcan Ori-esque reprint where it was a $15 card, like maybe Cage Sun or maybe, something
that'll drive booster pack opening.
Yeah.
Something that'll get... Because, you know what? Even as a financier, I don't sell a lot of $15 Vidalcan Orreries, but I will sell the shit out of some $5 Vidalcan Orreries.
Yeah, and then you'll do so until 2 years from now when it goes back up to 15, and then the cycle continues. But, like, for those people who just want to hold on to that card or get it at its lowest price point, there's going to be some reprint. We don't know what they are yet, but there's going to be something in here, like a Rite of Replication, or, like, maybe a Wrath of God, or Master of Ethereum, or I'm just going through random cards in my hands right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that needs it, and there's no way they don't know the stuff that needs it.
Yeah, like Oracle of Moldiah could easily just be jammed in here, and then it goes to 10, and then you're like, that's an $8 Oracle of Moldiah and TCG player. Then you buy it, and then 15 months from now, it's just almost back to where it was.
Yeah, and it's not just going to be doubling season. Like, doubling season's a great indication that they know that some stuff went nuts, and they know that, like, man, how long ago was the first Modern Masters? 5 years ago?
Yeah.
They know that that like 5 years ago wasn't recent enough for stuff like this. Yep. They understand the stuff that's expensive, and they are figuring out ways to reprint it and not make it totally useless, and I think that's a good sign. That's some of the stuff they're like, why is this $28? That it could get reprinted, and there's no way it's just doubling season, because someone's like, well, the booster packs are only $4. Could they really put another doubling season-esque card in this set? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and to that person I reply, they put Show and Tell and Berserk in Conspiracy 2, along with Sanctum Prelate, Recruiter of the God, like, Conspiracy, Leovold, like, that set has value, and this one will too. Another thing to note with Battlebond is that while we are in a very specific plane for the referencing of new cards, like all of the cards that are new and some of the reprints, like Doubling the Season, will have art related to this plane that doesn't restrict us from getting reprints that have names and arts and stuff like that focused on other planes, like Doom Traveler, like Doom Dissenter, the example for Conspiracy 2 would be Inquisition of Kozilek. When that card came out, people were like, why is Kozilek on Paliano? That doesn't make sense.
Because who gives a shit?
Right, but like the reprints, they're not obligated to tie them to the flavor of the plane with these draft sets. So they can put Doom Traveler and Doom Dissenter and Augur Spree in this set and have the art just be good old Ravnica, Innistrad, Amonkhet, or whatever. And so they can put something like Oracle of Moldiah in this set and just be like, it's Oracle of Moldiah. Zendikar? No, it's just in this. So there's no real naming restriction or anything like that prevents them from putting reprints in.
And like, yeah, I'm sure like that chafes the Vorthos people, but...
Well, it doesn't, because those are the cards that like aren't really, I guess, canon is the best way to put it, right? Like, we have all the new cards that tell the story, we have all this, and then like there's just the reprints that fill out the limited format. You don't need 200 cards dedicated to this set to build a world.
And because the world building is like, the tentpole cards handle it.
Yes.
You're like, this is an arena, and there's some people, and then some Oracle came from Moldiah to this plane, and whatever, who gives a shit? So I like that they don't feel restricted, and I even if they never do another Battlebond, that's just showing that they're thinking of creative ways to give us reprints on the cards we need. So I like it. I like that they reckon they're nimble enough to be like, man, that doubling season, Atraxa made that go nuts. We got to do something about that. So it gives me hope for stuff like Phyrexian Arena that's just really needed a reprint forever.
Yeah, so for like a bit of context, like when Conspiracy 2 first came out, Show and Tell from Urza Saga was like pushing 50 at that point.
I think it was like 80.
Yeah, like granted, I
think it was in something.
There were other factors in play. Like obviously, Legacy it had a lot more visibility back then. The Sneak and Show deck was much.
Well, that was before basically everybody dropped Legacy.
Yeah, Show and Tell peaked at like 80, and then you're right, it tapered off to around 60 before the reprint got announced. Yep.
And like Berserk was also very expensive because that was kind of the first time that they had done like a very, very core set-esque card that was of that power level. And it's something that you could open. They had like Demonic Tutor, but that was only the dual deck. And even by that time,
it's crazy because everybody thought Berserk was on the reserve list.
Right. Like,
well, there's a lot of stuff that people think is on the reserve list that isn't.
Back to Basics is the funny one.
Yeah, because there's so many shitty cards on the reserve list too. You're like, how's there rares from Urza Saga that aren't on the reserve list when Sentinel Hierophants is? And Sarah's whatever that the Angel with Echo, stuff like that. There's a lot of crap that was on the reserve because they just didn't know at the time. They didn't know what would be the hot stuff.
Yeah, like the weird bulk rares or whatever. So
if Alliance or not, if Force of Will was a rare, it would be on the reserve list. Just think about that. It'd probably be on the reserve list, like 95%.
Yeah, that would probably just cause a whole bunch of problems for Legacy.
Yeah.
Another thing about Battlebond that I think is kind of interesting. Maybe I'm having just like a stroke or something. I just don't remember, but I thought there were some rule changes to two-headed that they had posted somewhere towards the beginning of this that I can't seem to find now. Maybe I'm imagining things, but
was it back during like? Are you thinking of like back during Oath a couple years ago, or
no? I could swear something much more recent than this, but with I think it's like the way wording for like when they refer to each player or opponents or something.
Let me pull this something up here. Okay, so yeah, no, I found what you're talking about, Ed. It was for the Dominaria release notes. They have overhauled how combat works in Two-Headed Giant. So previously used to attack the opposing team and then had to figure out defending player individually for each effect that cared. Now for each creature you declare as an attacker in the Declare Attacker step, you choose one opponent or planeswalker to attack. This clarifies who the defending player is and who will be dealt combat damage. No matter who the creatures are attacking, the defending players can still block as a team. So like if you attack with the Weatherlight or something or Urgross or whatever, like it matters who they deal combat damage to.
Yes, that was what I was thinking of. So that makes me wonder if True Name Nemesis gets reprinted, given the wording on True Name Nemesis. Like this would seem like a reasonable place to put it in.
Yeah, that'd be a real good one because it's more fair in an environment where one person gets to answer it or block it or whatever.
Right. So even with two-head, like both players are more likely to have an answer. I think that kind of mixes up combat because you're only choosing one player, but if you're choosing who to attack, you're making it so that player's creatures can't block. But it's still a possibility that the other person still has something or some way to interact with it in a reasonable way, as opposed to, okay, well, here's a 3/1 unblockable, and I'm just going to attack you until you're dead type thing. So,
yep.
Like, that's speculative, but like when
Well, it's a really good thing to consider because True Name is a very, very difficult card to reprint otherwise because they hate the design of it for 1v1. They feel it was a huge mistake. And the number of spots they have to give that card a reprint, if it starts getting like to the $35, $40 range, are very low. Like,
why are they killing? Who's playing Legacy? Who gives a shit?
I mean,
it's terrible in EDH, and no one plays Legacy anymore because nobody has picked it up as a format they want to run.
But I mean, as evidenced by Conspiracy 2, they do want to put hard-to-get Legacy cards like Show and Tell and Berserk into the format where they can.
They did. Like there used to be more of an impetus. I don't know. I'd like to say that Legacy was still around because it's my favorite format, but I haven't had a chance to play it in a long time, so I don't know what to do. I don't think there's as much urgency. I think they're focusing on Modern as the accessible, like Eternal-esque format, and then eventually Modern will get pushed back by something else, Frontier-esque, and then Modern will be the format they treat like they treat Legacy now, and then Vintage will just be its own thing, and Legacy will be like Vintage is now. I think they are already being like, well, we'll just leave Legacy to its own devices because they're $500 dual lands, so there's not much we can do about it. You can reprint all the other stuff you want, but if the mana base costs $3,000, then the decks aren't playable.
But I mean, like you said, you just replace the duels with shocks.
People seem entirely unreasonably unwilling to do something that simple. So, if they did, that would be cool.
Until then, Field of Dreams can go up to $500.
What's Field of Dreams? Players play with their hands revealed?
Top card library face up? Is that the one?
Oh,
I thought you were just going to make a movie reference there, and I'm kind of sad that you didn't.
Well,
I think
if you build a deck with Field of Dreams, I will come. There you go.
I think the problem with also like reprinting Legacy cards, not to revisit this topic, but I think that actually further puts a squeeze on reserve list S cards because
it does. You're right.
Yeah, it's like the same. It's like the same with like Modern, right? We see this effect like very noticeably with the Mod Masters reprints. Right, like Tarmogoyf gets reprinted, Liliana gets reprinted. That's great. All the other Jund staples go up instead. Blackleaf Cliffs is.
Yeah, I mean, like, Stomping Grounds is $20 because Bloodbraid is allowed, yeah.
Yep. Like Blackleaf Cliffs has not seen a reprint yet. The card's going to continue to climb with just so many Jund players, trying to enter the format. That card is, pushing like 40 now or something like that?
Yeah.
So.
And there's such a huge difference in specific lands in cycles, like, Blackleaf's 40, but Seachrome Coast is like 8 or whatever, so it's really hard for them to justify an entire cycle of 5.
Reprinting the whole cycle, yeah.
It's like Raging Ravine is like 18 or whatever, and then freaking Celestial Colonnade is like 50. So it's just like such a huge divergence in prices between individual lands based on what the cycle provides you in colors, and like it makes reprinting duels really awkward.
Yeah, and Lava Claw Reaches is a bulk rare, so
yeah.
Yep. I totally agree. Yeah, regarding the True Name thing, that's purely speculative. Like, the only reason I brought it up was because I was trying to find the very specific.
Yeah, no one will remember. No one will remember if you whiff, but like if you nail it, then you're gonna look like a genius. So
yep.
Yeah, good job.
Because I mean, the only other place that card could get printed is like Judge Foil.
I think it's reasonable that like if they continue the Commander anthologies, that they will eventually get to a point where they cycle through every deck.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years from now, sure.
Yeah, and I think maybe that was what a lot of people were expecting. Like the Kali deck was the most expensive actual sealed deck from the Ritual Commander set, and after it got reprinted last year, whatever the name of the Jeskai deck, I can't. The one with Zedru in it is
the Monastery Monk or whatever. Monk or Zedru, yeah.
Yeah. Like, because that has both Flusterstorm and, which obviously got reprinted, but Flusterstorm and True Name made it. So
no, True Name was Nekusar, dude.
True Name was in the Nekusar.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was 2013. Okay, never mind. Old age.
You're off by 2 years. Yeah.
Old age.
The Nekusar deck had True Name and
Baleful Strix.
Baleful Strix. That was the one. Yeah. I think Stranglehold was in the Zedger deck.
Stranglehold was in Kalia.
Well, shit then. I don't know, man.
Well, I mean, the Commander Anthology this year is so strong, too, because even there are a few cards that get destroyed. Like, Atraxa's probably not going to be 30 anymore. She probably goes down to, like, 19 or something like that. But most of the other cards are just going to... They're not going to have that big of an impact, right? Like, Grave Pact is a $10 card. That's not going to drop to 4 or whatever. It's a Grave Pact, and every printing of Grave Pact has only just, like, been just tiny, right? Like, the last one...
It's flirted with $10 and gone back up, yeah.
Yeah, so when you get that Commander Anthology, you get... I mean, I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but you get so much value out of that, even if you buy it at MSRP. If you're just looking to, as somebody to just boost the value of your collection, as somebody who plays Commander, or just put a giant bunch of stuff in your trade binder, then the Commander Anthology is definitely the way to go, especially if you get to use one of those eBay coupons.
Here's a guessing game for you guys.
All right.
So in the Zedger the Great-Hearted deck, Political Puppets, there was a $16 card, which is Flusterstorm, that Iconic Masters brought down. There's also a card that's roughly $15 that never got reprinted. It was only available in this deck. What is the $15 card in Political Puppets?
$15 currently or on release?
Currently.
I can barely think of what's even in the deck anymore.
I know.
That's a good one, Jason.
If our listeners are yelling this at their radio, it's not Insurrection. Insurrection's around 7. It's not Martyr's Bond. Martyr's Bond's around 8.
Yep.
The card at 15 is Champion's Helm.
Oh, you're right.
Wow.
Equipped creature gets +2/+2 as long as it's legendary.
No, you're right. That was Zedru.
Wow.
That was the Zedru.
Yeah, the only reprint that card's ever gotten was a Masterpiece, and that jumped partially because of Dominaria.
Yeah.
Wow, that's...
So, yeah, everything else is... I don't think there are any cards above $5 in the deck other than that. You know, stuff like Ruhan's like $2 all these years later. Yeah, there's nothing above $5. Austere Command's down to 4 because of Iconic Masters, but that'll go back up. Yeah.
I wonder if Champion's Helm is a card that could get put in Battlebond if they just chalk it with Legends.
Yeah. Martyr's Bond, I don't see Martyr's Bond ever getting reprinted, though.
That's hard, yeah. That's hard to justify. But, like, Champion's Helm could easily just be like, yep, it's in Battlebond because you want to give one of your partners hexproof while you go get the other one, and, yeah. So that's a card.
It's so funny that the one we were, like, buying out at the stores back in the day was the one with Scavenging Ooze, because Scavenging Ooze was, like, $30 and the deck was, like, 30.
Yep.
That was so funny. All the other ones, like, it's just the stupid Riku one. Now that's like $200 for the sealed. They're like, it's the Angel one. This sucks. I think that's funny.
Yeah. I mean, the same happens every single year for the most part, right? Like, I mean, C15, the one to get was like Marin just because it was good, or Azuri because it was powerful, and then a year later, it's like, oh, you buy the red-white deck, you dumb idiot.
And that was the one that was just like left at the store. Everyone's like, we don't want to order another 4-pack because then we'll be stuck with these stupid red-white decks. And then that's the one with the 3 $25 cards in it.
Yep. So, I mean, we don't have a whole lot of time left. But, I mean, going into 2018 with this new Battlebond thing of like, hey, we got partners. Hey, we have commanders as legendary creatures as 2 of the marquee cards. I mean, does that sort of just tip us past the scale of like, we're probably getting legendary playable planeswalkers as your commanders? Do we see them as like ally colors maybe to make up for... there's only 4 decks though, so what's the color bet? Like, it's just a weird, interesting... what do you guys think are the themes, I guess, as I'm asking, of 2018 outside of planeswalkers?
Are you talking about Commander 2018? What's going to be?
Yeah, because I mean they've
there's no way to know, because all the things that people hinted at pretending they had advanced knowledge, that's all covered in Battlebond. So I think Commander 2018 will be something completely out of left field the way Eminence was.
Well, you don't think it's going to be Planeswalkers at all? Because that was in the Wizards' official announcement. They specifically referenced Planeswalkers in the C18 deck.
Yeah.
So, I mean, outside of that, though, like, the themes could be anything. It's hard to determine, like, because normally we go cycles, right? Normally it's like, oh, they're going to be allies. No, it's going to be this thing. But, like, with 4 decks, it's hard.
Have consistently, every time I've tried to predict what they were going to do, I've been wrong. So I don't even want to go on record because
we're not trying to guess based on financial information. Like, I'm just curious as to some brainstorming.
Yeah, but it's they always will come up with some new stuff that, like, we couldn't have even anticipated. They're very creative. So if it is Planeswalkers as commanders, like, I will be kind of disappointed because that sort of lacks creativity. They could put a commander, or they could put a Planeswalker in each deck. They could have an ability where you play the thing and you can tutor for a Planeswalker. I don't even know, man. Like, all the stuff in Battlebond, the whole, like, pairs with, instead of, like, you can have it partner with anything, having it partner only with specific stuff, forcing you to build a certain way, I think is pretty cool. So I really doubt it'll be more commanders as your Planeswalker for 2018 if they just did it in Battlebond. Right? That'll be the same thing twice in a year. That just doesn't seem like they would do it.
So definitely possible.
So the thing,
but they did specifically reference Planeswalkers. You're right. So who even knows?
So the thing about Planeswalkers, I wonder, like, if it's, like, kind of tied into the design space they gave when they made Planeswalkers with, like, the legendary type. You can now have, like, multiple Jaces or, like, multiple Teferis.
Right.
Like, I wonder if there's, like, some sort of interaction where you have, like, with maybe multiples of them on the battlefield.
So you mean, like, maybe one of them's like a Jace deck where you get a bunch of Jaces, or like a Liliana deck where you get a bunch of Lilianas. That's interesting.
Right. Like, that seems a little hard, mainly because every Planeswalker is just...
But that would, like, sell... That would sell so well.
Everything's going to sell so well. They're always so freaking good. The commander sets, they consistently nail. So I don't even know if they need to do overkill, right?
Right. I mean, I'm not trying to say this is guaranteed, but in the past couple years, they've definitely tried to match up what the commander theme was with something else that was happening in the same year. So C17 was like, hey, we're doing tribal. By the way, Ixalan's got a bunch of tribes. So, I mean, we got a bunch of legendary stuff in Dominaria. How deeply do we focus on legendaries? And do we just double down on the Rowan and Will Planeswalker-y commandery shenanigans? Like, it's just... Maybe they just double down on it and allow people to take advantage of synergies that exist combining Battlebond with C18.
Yeah, the other one I was kind of thinking of that was kind of in a similar vein would be, like, the assist mechanic. Like, maybe it kind of adds, like, an interesting, like, dynamic to, like, team, like a diplomacy element, or, like, you know, trying to work with your allies. Like, the assist cards we've seen, like, it's simply, like, cost reduction, right? But what if, like, you can do, like, an assist type spell where, like, each player gets to benefit.
Well, they did that with Join Forces, kinda.
Right.
With Join Forces, Tempting Offer, that kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of, like, maybe expanding on that a little bit. I don't know. Like, that's obviously speculation as well. But, again, it's just kind of thinking of, like, what is kind of happening this year already that they might, like, have a little more room to expand on that they might not be able to do so in just the, like, normal set.
Yeah, I mean, when is the release date for C18?
I think it was in June at some point.
Okay, so either way, we'll be getting some previews, and we'll be figuring out some more information as the next couple weeks come out. But just one more thing on Battlebond. What do you guys think about this Black Mythic that was previewed today? Amazing comeback.
I need to see how it's worded, because I wonder whether you can play it if you're the only player, and if you can... I think it's pretty sweet. I don't think it's going to be all that relevant.
It's something for sure where the Oracle text is going to be really important, but, like, it's just...
Because all we know is the Japanese... We know it in Japanese, and it's roughly translated to... Okay, it's a 3 and a black instant. If you and your partner would lose the game this turn, instead draw 7 cards, and your life total becomes 1. Exile amazing comeback. And I don't, if it says your team could be you in EDH.
Yep.
But if it's you and your partner,
that suggests
you can only play it in some sort of...
But then that goes back to, like, why would they make a mythic black rare that's, like, hot garbage to open by your own?
Because, well, they had mythics and conspiracy that were draft only.
Right, and that was, as you said, that was, like, kind of a poopy thing to do, so... I'd be really, really shocked if this was just a straight unplayable as a one-player.
This isn't broken in EDH either. It really isn't.
It's not broken. It's very good in the decks that want it, though.
Yeah.
Like, I have a Selenia deck right now that would really appreciate this.
Yeah, like, it is, like, it's probably grasping at straws, but it doesn't seem like necessarily, like, the most unreasonable, like, legacy sideboard card either. Against something like Storm, right? Like, if they're basically using all their resources to try and kill you. But I guess you already have effects like, probably like, just like...
Angel's Grace.
Yeah, exactly. That are probably just better. I'm not sure. So...
It's just a really interesting card.
Yeah. So and even if we do kind of like get a few useless mythics that are like only good in Battlebond, everything else I've seen just, it seems like it slots into EDH, which means the packs aren't hot garbage at $4 later on, or $3.79 or whatever they end up being. Like, you're not going to see boxes accumulate necessarily the way they did with Conspiracy 2, which, hey, I'm on record saying multiple times I think is a very good set. But every time I buy a loose booster Conspiracy, I regret it, so what do I know? I get like a Paliano or something like that.
I wonder if in kind of in the vein of this Black Mythic, there's a whole cycle of if your team, like, stipulating clause, something happens, right? Like, if you guys got attacked by 5 or more creatures this turn, something happens. I wonder if that's something that would expand on, because that would.
I kind of like the assist cards better.
Yeah, the assist cards are.
And but the thing is, everyone was like super excited about that 8-mana Wrath that everybody at the table could pay for, but it only lets one other player assist, so that's kind of lame.
Is that actually true? It's just another player, so. It's you pay for it, and then only one other player can pay for it?
That's what I've seen. If I'm wrong about that, I'd love to be corrected. But from what I've read, it's an other player.
Huh, interesting. Okay. I don't think I've actually seen, like, the rules, like, FAQ thing that they usually post, but yeah, you're not wrong. There's definitely a lot of, like, nuance to these cards that kind of comes down to how they interact. Especially on a large scale like EDH or something, when you have like 4 or 5 players that aren't necessarily working as a team, but some of these clearly imply, multiplayer effects. So,
and we hate to keep harping on EDH, but really EDH is the reason that these cards won't necessarily be hot garbage later on. Like, it keeps a lot of, like, Legacy makes 10 cards $200, but EDH makes 3,000 cards, $5, and I think that's what you want if you're, opening booster packs of a set.
So, one more quick thing before we roll into pick of the week. I'm surprised you didn't bring this up, Jason. This thing you just tweeted in response to Gavin Verhey. You can get 2 foils in a Battlebond booster pack.
Yeah, if one of the partners is foil, they made sure that the other partner's foil also.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is just confirmed by Gavin Verhey. If you open a foil partner, the other one is also foil in the same pack. I don't think that's ever happened before outside
and
of the
way.
Shards
Yeah,
packs.
no. And the way you draft Two-Headed Giant is you take 2 picks and then pass the pack. So people are like, oh, do you just take the one and then let the other go around because no one else can get as much out of it if they've seen that you've taken it, or do you like let somebody hate draft? It's interesting, but you take 2 picks out of every pack that you see, and then somebody gets 1 pick.
So how many people sit at a table for a Two-Headed Giant draft?
8.
Yeah.
It's 4 teams to 2.
4 teams to 2. Yep. At least that was how they did it when they had like the Two-Headed Giant Pro Tour, like in 2007 or something. So
yeah,
I've never drafted Two-Headed Giant before.
I top 8'd a PTQ for that, and we lost in the finals, which was very disappointing.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting dynamic. Like, if you've never done two-headed draft before, like, it's actually very, very fun.
Do you take 2 cards for one deck? Do you take 1 card for each deck? It's goofy.
Yeah, like conventional theory says you want to be drafting, you want to keep your options open, draft.
So how do you communicate with your partner at the table then?
Oh, you just whisper to each other.
But
you
like,
can talk
where
to
at the table are you placed? Are you next to each other?
You're next to each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the 2 of you take 2 picks at the same time.
Yeah, you're taking 2
Oh,
cards
I
out of
see.
the pack.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
So like kind of back to what I was saying. Conventional wisdom says you just want to take the best cards, keep your options open. But like, you know, here, like the partner mechanic pushes it, so it's like, you know, do I take both partners now and just kind of build around that? Like in 2007 at the Pro Tour, like the team that won, they just went super deep on slivers. It was just always take the slivers out of the pack. It was time for our block at the time. So being able to just double up on slivers just had like incredibly synergistic decks between them, even though objectively they could have taken just good Magic cards out of the packs and had, you know, 2 very reasonable decks. So it's definitely a very sweet mechanic. So I think this will be the type of thing that if you have one other friend that you want to come out to FNM with, it shouldn't be a problem to get these 8-man drafts to fire. Because that's a little bit different than needing, like, you know, a whole crew of people to play, like Commander or something, and sometimes you're just playing with, you know, just random other people when your play group doesn't fill. So, definitely excited to see more spoilers come out and see, like, what did it...
Plus an 8-person draft finishes in 2 rounds instead of 3.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
I don't know. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, because there's only 4 actual players, right? It's like your team against one other team, and then
the finals.
And then the finals.
Which you can prize split and then go do another draft. So you could be done in 2 hours.
Yep.
And go do another draft.
Yep.
I like it. I'll have to play that with my wife. But
that's what I like about Two-Headed Giant is someone who doesn't know how to Magic can like.
Don't say that about my wife or me.
Yeah, I wasn't saying it about your wife.
I was more saying about you, but continue, Jason.
No, but people that don't know how to Magic can pair up with a better player and learn a lot over the course of an afternoon playing Two-Headed Giant. And 2 good players can really like put their heads together and come up with a good play. So I think it gets the best out of everybody. You know, I think people play really good Magic playing Two-Headed Giant, and it's a great way to introduce someone to the game because they're not overwhelmed on their own. Like, well, I can't help you. You know, this is a tournament game, so like, I'm just going to stand behind you and then go, I'm going to wince if you make the wrong play. You get to actually talk through plays with people, and I think Two-Headed Giant is the best way to get a significant other or a friend who's not super great at Magic to enjoy a tournament experience and feel like they're part of a winning team and that they contributed. It's probably the best way to get somebody into Magic, I would say.
I don't disagree here.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think like Doug says, like he brought up, like it's very good for like couples, right? You don't have to have like the awkward like, you know, boyfriend play Magic and girlfriend just sits there angrily or vice versa or whatever, right? Just because one of them play. This is something that like they can both share together and have a reasonable afternoon doing it down at the game store or something.
You can enjoy getting mana screwed together. Not even anymore because this assist mechanic.
Yep, assist is great.
Yep.
Battlebond's great. Gavin nailed it.
Yep. No feel bad there.
Yep. So this is everything Conspiracy wanted to be, and everything I wanted Conspiracy to be. So financially good. Good for reprints. Who's got a pick of the week?
Pick of the week. Pick of the week. Pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
I've got one. I'm not super confident in this one, but if it hits, I think it's gonna hit hard. While we've been talking about Conspiracy 2, Battlebond, all this stuff, this is a card from the original Conspiracy that saw a little bit of legacy play and then bottomed out, and it's been on the upswing. Council's Judgment, I think.
Yeah.
It's hasn't been on the interest for 2-3 years, and now suddenly it's like, oh, it's back up to like 8 or 9 or so from
you know
the bottom
why?
of 7.
Because everyone basically who's building a legacy deck is building Death and Taxes, because Death and Taxes had like one expensive card, and that was Port, and then Port got that Iconic Masters reprint, and a lot of people were just like, all right, I'm going to get into Death and Taxes. So a lot of people built that deck, and they look at what's the premium removal in that. You got Swords of Plowshares, and you got Council's Judgment. So I think D&T is driving this largely.
That's fair. Yeah, if this card gets expensive, it's going to take a longer amount of time for Wizards to just find a reprint valve for it, because it has, I don't even know, it's not Will of the Council, is it? Or is, yeah, it's Council. It's what it is, because the other one's Council's Dilemma. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's got Will of the Council on it. It's hard to just, outside of a Judged Foil, just putting it out there, it's hard. I mean, I guess you could throw it in a reprint Commander deck, but, like, I don't know.
Yeah, you absolutely could. And if you wanted to do a whole cycle of Will of the Council, that's not terrible either, because there was definitely one good card in every color. If you just threw one in every deck or whatever. As long as you kept the colors balanced, that's 100% of what they're worried about, is keeping the colors balanced. So if they're going to do one Will of the Council, or Council's Judgment even, they could, between those two mechanics, they could pick 5 and 1 to go in each deck, for sure.
I think, like... Sorry, I think the value of this card is also kind of tied into how a permanent True Name Nemesis is.
That's fair.
Yeah, mainly because, like, it's, you know...
it's the best answer, yeah. It's the yeah.
It's like a relatively clean answer, right? Without playing awkward cards like, you know, Marsh Casualties, or, like, Golgari Charm, or Diabolic Edict or something. So this is just kind of a good...
It's the best quote-unquote targeted answer.
Yes.
Only targeted answer, I guess.
Or a lot of stuff, like, you play True Name Nemesis and you equip it immediately with a Batterskull, so it's not even like some of those toughness-based removal is even that good.
Yep.
Right.
Not that anybody plays Legacy anymore.
Alright, Jason, what do we got? Or do you want to let Ed go first?
I'll let Ed go. I got one locked and loaded, but I'll let the guest go first.
I like that I don't have... I'm just not forced into, like, being on the ball and having to go first every time. So this one's a standard one. I think this is one, it has a pretty low... the floor right now is pretty low. It bottomed out ever since it got released. The ceiling is pretty high. Growing Rights of Ithlamok, the pseudo Guy's Cradle, it's down to like $3, $2, if that even. Mainly just because it sees no play. But I think it has the potential, like, especially if we see like some sort of sapling-based aristocrat-style deck, whatever, with sack effects and a bunch of creatures. Mainly because Standard doesn't really have a good token-based deck right now. But obviously, if there was a token-based deck that can kind of take advantage of this, then this is a type of card that would explode.
So people have gone back retroactively and to some extent put it in Rice, Gave, and Prosh, but only like 50 decks each, right?
Yeah.
Versus it's in 200 Gishath decks, which tells me people are like, I've got this lying around and I'm building a new deck. Maybe I'll just jam it in there. But it seems like people aren't updating their old lists. So I don't know how inclined someone is to like throw this in an existing deck. But I think with Slimefoot being super popular, Azuri Renegade Leader getting a reprint, and people still looking at stuff like Hepatra, you know? I mean, it's not totally worthless. It's in 2,400 decks on EDHREC, which is, it's not bad. It's not a green staple, certainly, but it's not nothing. Anything under like 500 decks is basically unplayed, but 2,400, you're starting to... I could see this maintaining $5-6 just on the strength of EDH in the next year.
Oh,
so,
for sure.
like, the floor for it's probably 5.
Yep.
And I think, again, this is one of the things where, like, I've generally noticed with trends, like, at more competitive, like, events like the Pro Tour or whatever, like, there's definitely room where people don't really incorporate certain cards until someone else makes use of it. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but I remember thinking like there was definitely a surge in how many cards showed up on EDH Rec after people started playing on the Pro Tour or like some competitive events. Like, oh, okay, this card is much better than expected. These were the synergies that kind of pushed it over the edge, and people started to incorporate that into their decks. So this is one of those low risk cards. The buy box one is probably pretty sweet as well. Like all the buy box promos had a jump kind of in the past like 2 weeks. Search was the first one, but now like all the promos are much more expensive.
Are those the ones with the maps on the back?
Yeah, the buy a box.
Yeah.
Well, I think Fast Finance has been talking about those and calling them mapster pieces. And I think they heavily targeted those, and I think that could have something to do with it because they're a unique promo and they're cool and like they're collectible on top of being playable. So I think that could have as much to do with it as playability.
Yeah. So another thing I wonder that now that you actually brought that up, I wonder if like Battlebond will have kind of something like that snuck in, like this kind of this like out of left field oddball thing, like similar with what they did with Unstable, right? Like no one knew that literally up until like the day before the set came out that there were like 6 variations on some of these cards,
right?
On some of the art, yeah. I don't know if they need it. Like I feel. I'm hearing from some stores that are saying they're getting really heavily allocated on Battlebond. So maybe that's just like anecdotal from a few stores, but if there's not a ton of Battlebond and they plan to sell out of all of it just on the strength of its playability, maybe they're not going to do any gimmicks at all. Like, it doesn't seem super necessary.
Right. I wonder if a lot of the allocation has kind of like been kicked back from the past few years where everything's just been so heavily overprinted that they're just trying to probably lower production costs or whatever by not, having a ton of this stuff laying around if they don't have to. So they'd probably rather put the pinch on stores earlier on and then just print more later, as opposed to having the opposite problem where they print too much to begin with, and then they're in a problem where they just have product sitting around at distributor warehouses that they can't get rid of.
Yep.
Interesting thought.
For sure. I guess it's my turn to do my pick of the week, huh?
Seems like it.
I got a bit of an unusual one. It's a card that's flown under the radar for a while, and it's banned in a few formats. My pick of the week is Deathrite Shaman. I don't think it ever goes below $5. I think you buy them, and you buy them now.
That's... I don't know. I actually disagree with you on that one. I think that card's super high risk.
You don't like Deathrite at 5?
I think that card's at super high risk of getting banned in Legacy.
You think so?
I agree with Doug on this one. I think it's no longer an issue of if. I think it's an issue of when at this point. So.
Okay. Well, apparently this is a high risk pick of the week, but it's going to be high reward. It never gets below $5 unless it gets banned. So.
I mean, if it gets, are you picking it based on Legacy, or what are you picking it based on?
The fact that it's $5.
I think that's reasonable. I think it's just such an absurdly powerful card. Like even with the reprint, like it bottomed out, but it started to climb pretty quickly. Like I remember trying to being able to pick them up on buy list for like $1 or $2, and then people just quickly started saying no because Eternal Masters, because of it, the time when it was released during the summer, people just stopped opening Eternal Masters pretty quick. Mainly because the EV also plummeted. And now, people need Deathrite Shamans again, so...
Yeah, it's a Deathrite Shaman. It's good in a lot of formats. I can't see it going below $5, even just, basically just on EDH and, Vintage, so I don't know. I don't see them looking at Legacy as often as they used to and doing bans. I feel like they don't. I feel like every once in a while they're like, oh, we'll do a Vintage ban, but I feel like when there was a Legacy tournament every single weekend, like there was when Star City was doing it, that was one thing. But now that basically no one's running Legacy, I don't think the impetus to really control the format with bans is that much, and I don't know.
Travis Allen had a really interesting idea, which I disagreed with him on at the time, and I still don't really think it's likely, but the possibility of them banning Deathrite right before the Masters or the 25th anniversary Pro Tour, just to shake up the format completely. Because if you don't know what
if
legacy...
if it does get banned, how cheap does it get? Is there really an impetus to fire sell these? So I feel like this is a low risk, high reward pick. I feel like this could be $7-8 in a year versus I don't know how cheap it goes if it gets banned. So I'm not. I feel like this is just going to be one of those long, steady gainers that I'm famous for, and I think it's good enough in EDH and playable enough in other formats that I feel like $5 is probably too cheap for a card that's this powerful. So that's going to be my pick.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, if a lot of like the cheap one-man dorks like see play in EDH, like this is definitely good enough because it's so much better than that. It's like good on turn 1. Like it always just busts on turn 1, but like it's still fine over the course of the game. So... And like with so many graveyard shenanigans, there probably is enough like just pressure in EDH that people will still play it, obviously. So, and it being cheap as it is, like I'm sure there's plenty of people where if it does get banned, it's not like people are just straight up like getting rid of like their legacy deck and every card in it or whatever. People will probably just be whatever, at $5 I'll just hold on to it. So
yeah,
seems reasonable to me.
I try not to pick a super EDHE pick this week because that's sort of what I'm doing exclusively. But you know what? I feel good about it.
So I guess I expand on that mainly because I don't listen to every Brainstorm Brewery episode. What is like an example of a super EDHE pick? Like your most recent one?
I'm looking at the spreadsheet right now, and some of his most recent. All right, if you're not a $10 patron, just cover your ears for like 10 seconds.
This is shit that only our $10 patrons and up should have.
Some of his recent picks have been like Runescarred Demon, Splendid Reclamation, Mono Black City Sea, Saproling Symbiosis.
Okay. So like those are cards that people who are both like very into like finance, like from like Jason's level, where they're selling a lot of EDH cards they would know, but your average listener who is just looking to keep their cost low on Magic or whatever, they might not know that these cards are expensive, or they could be good pickups because there's just so much demand for them. It sees a lot playing EDH, etc. I kind of assume that like that's kind of your angle. When
it's just
cards.
Like not every modern player, not every person who like builds EDH decks or whatever knows that now is the best time to pick up Runescarred Demon.
Yep.
Yeah, because all the Iconic Master stuff is basically that's good in EDH is bottoming out basically now.
All right, we've been recording for way too long, so this is the end of the podcast. Goodbye.
You got too much podcast.
Oh, sorry. Ed, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at Edwin13. I wish I was in Washington, D.C. this weekend, but I'm not. And then we are hosting Star Series.
You're so close.
I know, I'm so close. And then I'm
so far.
Yeah, and then
I wish I'd been in Washington D.C. tonight when they won Game 6 against the Tampa Bay Lightning and staved off elimination. It's probably a madhouse there right now.
I assume you're talking about hockey.
Yeah. Sure am.
I wish I knew more about hockey. I know nothing about hockey. So
you're a shit nerd if you don't know about hockey. That's what I think.
Fair enough. I'm a shit nerd. You guys heard it here first. Can't admit.
All right, where else can people find you, Ed? Let's get out of here.
Corbin's Game Store is hosting the regionals in Syracuse in 2 weeks, and then I'll be in Copenhagen after that. Not in DC this year, though.
All right, thanks for everyone for listening. Enjoy your Corbin-less episode. He might or might not be back next week.
Yeah, let us know if you think we should bring him back.
Rolling outro.
No more Corbin.